Hello and welcome to today's episode on Part 4 of Theories of Organization Structure. My name is Rayan Zahoor and the subject expert is Dr. Arshia Hussain, PhD in Human Resource Management and teaching in the Department of Commerce and Business Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. In Part 3 of Organization Structure, we discussed the Hawthorne experiments in detail. Today, we will discuss the modern theory of management. The modern period starts from 1960 till the present times. There was a shift in management thought after 1960 and the discussion moved away from ideas of human relations which were considered extreme, particularly the idea that there was a direct relationship between the morale of the workers and the level of their productivity. The modern theory of management places equal emphasis on man and machine. The proponents of the modern theory of management recognize the social responsibilities of business activities and have similar thoughts. During this time, the principles of management have been researched extensively and reached a level of refinement. The creation of large companies resulted in the separation of management from ownership. The change in ownership created a situation where professional managers who received a salary for doing their job were hired and replaced managers who were also the owners of the organization. When the ownership of organization was transferred to hired professional managers, there was a rise in the use of scientific methods of management. At the same time, organizations have become responsible to several sections in the society. These are shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, trade unions and also the government. Three lines of thinking within the modern theory of management have emerged since 1960 and are of importance. These are quantitative or mathematical approach, systems approach and contingency approach. Quantitative or mathematical approach. This approach is also known as the management science approach or the operations research approach. Mathematics is an important discipline and has made inroads into all fields. It is recognized as an essential tool for analysis. It is also recognized as a language that is used for precise statement of concept and for establishing relationships. The mathematical approach provides a base that helps in decision making. This approach considers management as a network of processes and mathematical models that are interconnected. The primary aspect of this school of thought is the use of a mixed team of scientists who come from different fields. They use techniques that are scientific and provide a quantitative basis to managers for sound decision making. The advocates of this approach look at management as a logical process that can be expressed in terms of relationships or mathematical symbols. Several quantitative tools and techniques like simulation, queuing, and linear progression are being used increasingly in almost every area of management. It can be used to study a wide range of issues and problems. The promoters of the mathematical approach feel that all the different paths of management can be looked at in quantitative terms for the purpose of analysis. However, it must be noted that although mathematical models have the capability of conducting a systematic analysis of problems, they can never be a replacement for common sense. Mathematicians have made significant contributions in the study of management. It has had an impressive impact towards developing a systematic thinking process among managers. It has given precision to the field of management. Its contribution is immense and it is difficult to overemphasize it. Yet, it can only be considered as a tool in management practices. Mathematical quantitative techniques do provide us with methods for analysis, but they cannot be looked upon as independent structures of management thought. A considerable amount of mathematics is applied in the field of engineering and physical sciences. Yet, it has never been treated as a separate independent system even in these areas. Limitations of the mathematical approach. The critics of this approach consider it as being too narrow. It involves only the development of certain mathematical models and provides solutions for some of the problems faced by the managers. Some of its limitations are: this approach completely ignores the human aspect in management, and that plays a dominant role in every organization. In real life situations, managers often have to take decisions very quickly. They do not have the time to wait for enough information to develop a mathematical model. Different mathematical tools and techniques help managers in decision making. However, decision making is only one of the many activities that a manager needs to complete. In other words, management has several functions and decision making is only one of them. The mathematical approach assumes that all the variables involved in decision making can be measured and that they are interrelated. This is not an accurate assumption. At times, the data and the information that is available is not updated, and sometimes there are gaps in the data. When such data is used for developing a mathematical model, it could lead to flawed analysis and in turn poor decision making. System approach. The systems approach to management started emerging sometimes during the 1950s. It made an attempt to consolidate the earlier schools of thought. It started from where the management process approach had stopped. It considers different approaches like the quantitative approach, the process approach, and the behavioral approach as subsystems of a larger system or as parts of an overall theory of management. The early contributors of the system approach include Ludwig von Bertalanffy, Lawrence Henderson, Daniel Katz, W. Buckley, W. G. Scott, and Robert Kahn, among others. Cleland and King, in their book Systems Analysis and Project Management, which was first published in 1968, write, "A system is composed of related and dependent elements which, when in interaction from a unitary whole," they go on to say that it is simply an assemblage or combination of things or parts, forming a complex whole. Every system can consist of several parts or subsystems, and every subsystem could further comprise of smaller parts or subsystems. An organization is a system, and that system has several characteristics. Every system is goal oriented. Every system comprises of many smaller subsystems, which are both interdependent as well as interconnected. A system receives certain inputs and processes those inputs or transforms them into outputs. An organization is a system which is open and dynamic. It has an interface with the external environment which is constant and continuous. This interface receives inputs from the environment and then it supplies its output back to the environment. The system is sensitive to its external environment, which include competition from other players in the market, policies made by the government, technological advancement that happen globally, the tastes of its customers or potential customers, and so on. There is a boundary to every system, and this separates one system from the other. Open system concept. A system could be either closed or open. A system that is closed does not depend on any other system and is self-dependent. There is no interaction between a closed system and its external environment. Examples of closed systems are physical systems and mechanical systems. A closed system has complete focus on its internal relationships. In other words, it has interactions between only its subsystems. A closed system is not capable of monitoring changes that occur in its external environment, and that is because it does not have any interaction with its environment. An open system, on the other hand, has an active interface with its external environment through the process of receiving inputs and giving back outputs. This system is capable of responding to any change in its external environment. This is done through the feedback mechanism, which is a part of every open system. This is the reason that modern writers look at an organization as an open system. An open system will receive inputs from its environment. These inputs can be capital, raw material, technology, labor, and information. The organization uses the inputs and combines them with its operations and the managerial process. The result is that an output is produced and is supplied to the environment or its customers. The environment evaluates the output using a feedback process, and that evaluation becomes a part of the input, which continues the activities of the organization. The business operations of an organization will continue as long as the environment is satisfied with the output. When the environment is not satisfied with the output of the organization, it is time to initiate changes within the system. This is essential so that the requirements of the customers are met. This is the process that an open system follows. The feedback mechanism helps the system to respond to the changes in its environment. Features of a systems approach. The systems approach is not considered superior to the classical and neoclassical approaches due to several limitations, which are: open system view of organization. The classical theory viewed an organization as a closed system. However, modern theory looks at organization as an open system. It interacts continuously with its external environment. It receives several resources from its environment and processes them to convert them into outputs which the environment needs or desires. They give due importance to the environmental factors that affect the management in an organization. Adaptive system. In a dynamic environment, the survival and growth of an organization requires an adaptive system. This system should be capable of continuously adjusting to changes in its external environment. The management generally makes changes in the subsystems of the organization so that it can cope with the challenges that it faces in its environment. The feedback mechanism allows the management to assess the performance of the organization and take actions accordingly. The success of the management is evaluated in terms of how adaptable it makes the organization to its environment. This is the basic role of the management. Interdependent subsystems. An organization is a system that consists of different subsystems. Let us take the example of a business enterprise in which production, marketing, accounts and other departments are all subsystems. These subsystems interact with each other functionally and are interdependent. They are grouped together as one entity through common goals, through authority that flows to all subsystems, through resources that are shared with each other, and so on. Whole organization. The systems approach gives a combined focus to all the efforts made within the organization. It provides its management with a larger view of the organization, lets them view it as a whole, which is larger than the sum of all its parts. There is emphasis on integrating the different subsystems of the organization. This is done to ensure that the entire system stays effective. Synergy. If there is synergy in a system, the output of that system will always be higher than the combined total output of all its subsystems. This is recognized as the law of synergy. The productivity of all the different parts of a system is higher when all the parts interact with each other as compared to when they operate in isolation. Multi-level analysis. The modern theory of management covers both the micro aspects and the macro aspects. If we look at the macro level, this approach can be applied to the entire industry or even the economic system of a country. If we look at the micro level, this approach can be applied to a specific organization or to the subsystems that exist within that organization. Multivariate analysis. The systems approach keeps in consideration multiple variables at the same time. This implies that if an event takes place, it will not be viewed as a simple cause and effect occurrence. It will rather be viewed as an event that was a result of many variables which are related to each other and are interdependent too. This concept of interrelated and interdependent subsystems makes management a complex process. It highlights the difficult and complicated nature of modern organizations. Multidisciplinary. Several disciplines like economics, psychology, sociology, mathematics, anthropology, research, operations, among others, contribute to the modern theory of management and makes it richer and more complete. Contributions of systems approach. The systems theory was first introduced under the name of general system theory by a leading biologist, Ludwig von Bertalanffy. Since then, it has gained a lot of significance. When it comes to managing modern organizations, the systems theory looks at the relationship between different subsystems with each other and dependency on each other. By doing so, it attempts to answer questions that arise from these relationships. The focus of the system theory is on the working of these different subsystems and to make sure that the systems survives, becomes stronger and grows. The systems theory makes an effort to design a theory of management that is comprehensive. The dependence of subsystems on each other and the interrelationships between them within an organization are given enough emphasis. Any change in one subsystem, even if it is minor, normally has a direct or indirect impact on the other subsystems as well. The systems approach recognizes the influences that the external environment has on an organization, which were ignored completely by the advocates of classical theory. It lays emphasis on an organization's ability to respond to change, or in other words, its adaptability. It also emphasizes on efficiency. It makes a strong and valid argument against rigid rules and regulations and highlights how they are unable to cope with uncertainty and events that are not in an organization's control. The systems theory is considered to have a balanced outlook on organization and management. It derives the point that managers should not analyze problems in isolation and should develop skills that enable them to think in an integrated manner. It gives the organization and its managers a unified and comprehensive focus on all efforts made within the organization. The systems approach gives weight to the multi-dimensional, adaptive and dynamic nature of an organization. It gives a strong conceptual framework that is able to provide a meaningful analysis and a detailed understanding of an organization. It acknowledges the interdependence and interaction that takes place among the various variables that exist within the environment of the organization. It gives insights in the working of an organization and its complex behavior. It cautions against a narrow and fragmented approach to problems faced by an organization by emphasizing on interrelationships and interdependencies. Limitations of systems approach. The system theory is not free from its limitations. It has been criticized for being rather abstract and vague. It is difficult to apply this approach to real life practical problems. It does not provide the manager with specific tools and techniques. It faces strong criticism for not recognizing differences in different systems. It does not specify the types of interactions and interdependencies of an organization with its external environment. Lack of unification. The system theory should be considered as a unified theory of organization. A unified theory should be applicable to all kinds of organizations and should be able to present a comprehensive analysis. All the people who wish to study organizations from different perspectives should be able to derive knowledge from such a theory. The advocates of system theory claimed that it would be a unified theory, but it did not achieve this objective. Abstract analysis. The systems approach is rather abstract to be of any significant use for real life managers. It shows that the different parts of an organization are interrelated and the interrelationship is dynamic. However, it is not able to pinpoint the exact relationship between different subsystems. Limited view of the interface between an organization and its environment. The system theory is not able to specify the exact nature of interactions and interdependencies that exist between an organization and its external environment. Limited application. The applications of the system theory are limited. It is not able to give an action framework which can be applicable to all kinds of organizations. Let us take the example of modern structural designs like matrix organization. A communications and automatic control system can be applied to only large organizations. Due to the expense related with such systems, they will not be profitable if they were applied to smaller organizations. In its initial years, the system theory had created a lot of expectations. Unfortunately, it could not live up to those expectations. It could not provide a comprehensive explanation of an organization that would be adequate. Summary. Modern management theory. The modern period starts from 1960 till the present times. There was a shift in management thought after 1960. And the discussion moved away from ideas of human relations which were considered extreme, particularly the idea that there was a direct relationship between the morale of the workers and the level of their productivity. The modern theory of management places equal emphasis on man and machine. Three lines of thinking within the modern theory of management have emerged since 1960, and these are of importance. Quantitative or mathematical approach. This approach is also known as the management science approach or the operations research approach. Mathematics is recognized as an essential tool for analysis. It is also recognized as a language that is used for precise statement of concept and establishing relationships. The mathematical approach provides a base that helps in decision making. This approach considers management as a network of processes and mathematical models that are interconnected. The primary aspect of this school of thought is the use of a mixed team of scientists who come from different fields. They use techniques that are scientific and provide a quantitative basis to managers for sound decision making. Systems approach. The systems approach to management started emerging sometimes during the 1950s. It made an attempt to consolidate the earlier schools of thought. It started from where the management process approach had stopped. It considers different approaches like the quantitative approach, the process approach and the behavioral approach as subsystems of a larger system or as parts of an overall theory of management. Features of a systems approach: adaptive system, interdependent subsystems, whole organization, synergy, multi-level analysis, multivariate analysis, multidisciplinary. This is all we have for today. Hope the session was informative. We will meet again in the next episode with part 5 of organization structure. Till then, take care and goodbye.